as a regional stabilizing formal while advancing diplomatic and economic cooperation between both countries. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has expressed deep sorrow over the death of Imam Abdullahi Abubakar, the chief imam of Niga village in Barkin-Ladi local government area of Plateau State, whose courage action during the 2018 communal crisis earned him national and international recognition. The late cleric, who died at the age of 92, became widely celebrated after sheltering over 200 Christians in his mosque and residence at the height of violent attack, standing as a powerful symbol of interfaith harmony and humanity. President Tinubu described the Imam as a rare moral compass and urged religious and community leaders across Nigeria to draw inspiration from his legacy by promoting tolerance, unity, and peaceful coexistence. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, says President Bola Tinubu is laying strong foundations for long-term economic growth through bold policy decisions aimed at stabilizing the economy and restoring confidence. Speaking while receiving members of the Grassroots Advocacy for Tinubu 2027 in Abuja, Idris said early signs of recovery were emerging across key sectors, despite difficult choices taken by the administration. He reaffirmed the government's commitment to inclusive government and offensive and effective communication, stressing that public engagement and accurate information are critical to national stability. The political tension in Rivers State has taken a dramatic turn as State House of Assembly formally resumed impeachment proceedings against Governor Siminalaya Fubara and his deputy, pushing the crisis into a decisive constitutional phase. Samuel Odi has the details.
The Rivers State House of Assembly has reignited the impeachment process against the governor and deputy governor, signaling an escalation in the ongoing power struggle between the legislature and the executive. Addressing journalists in Port Harcourt, the leadership of the assembly dismissed claims that the move is politically motivated, insisting that the action is rooted strictly in constitutional responsibility. Lawmakers urged that the executive arm has persistently violated the provision of constitution and failed to respect agreement previously reached to restore harmony in governance.
In a bid to gain or win sympathy for the governor or deputy governor, many who do not mean well for Rivers State or democracy simply reduce everything to disagreement between our political leader and the governor. The real problem is that the governor and his deputy are at war.
The assembly further expressed disappointment over what it described as a rejection of peace efforts extended to the executive. According to lawmakers, the gesture was met with hostility, including alleged media attack orchestrated by aides of the governor, aimed at intimidating legislators and forcing them to abandon the impeachment process, now resumed for the third term.
During the pendency of this appeal, we found out that the governor and the deputy governor, they have all employed their media boys and aides to continuously attack the Rivers State House of Assembly.
Convinced that their strategy is to intimidate us into withdrawing the impeachment process for the third time while they continue their infractions on the Constitution and the law.
Lawmakers also condemned the attempt to reignite the constitutional dispute as an ethnic or tribal conflict, warning that such narratives are dangerous and capable of undermining national unity.
If all of us want peace, if we want justice, if we want a society that is ordered, then we must be subject to the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Following deliberations, the House, presided over by Speaker retired Honorable Martins, conducted a vote on whether to proceed with the impeachment investigation. 25 lawmakers voted in favor with no dissenting vote and no aberration. Invoking Section 188, subsection 5 of the 1999 Constitution, the Speaker announced that the resolution would be forwarded to the Chief Judge of Rivers State for the next stage of action.
By virtue of Section 188, subsection 5 I will ensure that the resolution of this House is immediately communicated to the Chief Judge of Rivers State.
The Chief Judge is now expected to constitute a 7-man panel to investigate the allegation against the Governor and Deputy Governor as impeachment process advances into its full constitutional course. Samuel Odi for Global Television News.
In a related development, a Rivers State High Court has issued an interim injunction temporarily halting further action on the impeachment proceeding against Governor Siminalaya Fubara and his deputy, Ngozi Odu. The court restrained the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Chief Judge, and other parties from taking steps to advance the impeachment process for 7 days. The matter has been adjourned to January 23, 2026 as the political crisis shifts into a legal contest. Troops of Operation Hardin K had killed several terrorists in Adamawa and Borno State after successfully repelling coordinated attacks on military positions across the northeast. The military said alert troops engaged the attacker at a patrol base in Madagali local government area of Adamawa State, forcing them to retreat without casualties to government forces. Follow-up clearance operations were carried out to eliminate remaining threats and ensure the safety of both civilians and military personnel. Operatives of the Department of State Service has rescued 2 pastors and a church member abducted by armed bandits while traveling from Kaduna to Niger State. The victims were freed during ongoing security operations, bringing relief to their families and the Christian community across the region. The church leaders commended the DSS for the successful rescue and called for the sustained collaboration among security agencies, religious leaders, and communities to combat insecurity. The Nigerian Medical Association says cases concerning negligence by its members are only referred to regulatory agencies, which deal with Code of Medical Ethics and National Health Acts. Chairman of the association, FCT chapter, Dr. Emeka Ayogu, disclosed this in an exclusive interview with Global Television health correspondent Zarab Nasir.
Doctor's negligence or medical malpractice is when a healthcare professional fails to provide the accepted standard of care, resulting in patient's injury, harm, or death, requiring proof of a duty of care. Common examples include misdiagnosis, surgical errors, and failure to get informed consent, leading to potential legal action or disciplinary measures. The Nigerian Medical Association FCT chapter says part of what they are doing to prevent the occurrence of doctors' negligence is creating awareness on the issue of medical ethics, educating members to be very vigilant and also follow the medical conducts while on duty.
Actually, it's a very repetitive situation when it happens, and the NDM has a body, of course, a body of doctors. We create awareness and also preach and remind people the issue of medical ethics. We periodically engage members to, be very, very vigilant, make sure they employ medical codes conduct. Do you understand? And also make sure they operate based on acceptable standards.
Dr. Emeka Ayogu also says whenever such a case is found, the regulatory bodies will sanction, penalize, or suspend the doctor.
They will act accordingly. Of course, eventually, made in law court, sometimes Nigeria Medical and Dental Council will sanction them, penalize them, sometimes suspend them, withdraw their licenses, and occasionally copy to us at enemy.
Medical negligence is a growing concern in Nigeria, stemming from acts or omissions by healthcare professionals that fall below the accepted standard of care, leading to patient's injury or death. Zahra Nasir reporting for Global TV. Doctors negligence.
The Jigawa State Police Command has arrested 20 suspected and recovered 24,000 tablets, illicit drugs, during intelligence-led operations across the state. Police said the drugs valued at over 1 million naira were intercepted while being transported from Kano State to illegal distribution centers. The suspects have been transferred to the State Criminal Investigation Department for further investigation and prosecution. You're watching the live broadcast of News Express. News Express continues after this weather broadcast plus business, foreign and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us.
Hello and welcome to the weather update. I'm Sefia Sayunusa and here's a look at the weather conditions expected across the country. We begin in the northern parts of the country where visibility is expected to improve gradually by Saturday. However, slight dust hails will still prevail across the region. Moving into the north-central state, moderate dust hails is anticipated. There are chances of significantly reduced visibility over parts of Niger State. With the incursion of more moisture into the country, the south is expected to experience partly cloudy conditions. There is also a prospect of isolated thunderstorms over parts of Lagos, Edo, Bayelsa, Rivers, Delta, Akwa Ibom, and Cross River State. These storms may be accompanied by brief rainfall and gusty winds in some locations. And that's the latest weather outlook. Stay safe and stay informed. Thank you for watching.
Welcome back from that break. Now let's look at the world of business, where the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority says Nigeria's petrol importation fell sharply in December 2025, while supply from local refineries increased significantly. Data showed that imports declined by 19% as domestic refineries led by the Dangote refinery boosted output by 64%. The regulator said daily petrol consumption also rose to its highest level in December, reflecting increased economic activity. 4 major aviation unions have issued a 14-day ultimatum to the management of the Nigerian College of Aviation Technology, that is NCAT, Zaria, warning that workers will withdraw services if the long-delayed review of staff condition of service is not concluded. The union's Air Transport Service Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, National Union of Air Transport Employees Association of Nigeria, Aviation Professionals, and the National Association of Aircraft Pilots and Engineers said management have shown prolonged indecision and lack of commitment to staff welfare, despite repeated engagements and assurances, noting that NCAT remains the only aviation agency yet to finalize its conditions of service review. They warn that failure to conclude the process within the stipulated period would trigger a total shutdown of activities at the institution, while NCAT spokesperson Jude Amadi said he was unaware of the ultimatum but promised to confirm and respond. The United Nations World Food Programme has warned that Nigeria's northeast is facing its worst hunger in nearly a decade due to deep cut in humanitarian aid. The agency said thousands are at risk of catastrophic food shortages, with millions of Nigerians projected to suffer malnutrition in 2026. Funding shortfall have forced a drastic reduction in food assistance, raising fears of worsening humanitarian conditions across the region. And on the foreign scene, Uganda's electoral chief says the country's presidential election was generally peaceful, stating that vote counting has concluded in many areas. Electoral Commission Chairperson Simon Bekakama announced this during an election update, a day after voting took place under an internet blackout with a long delay caused by technical failures, as 81-year-old incumbent President Yoweri Museveni seeks to extend his 40 years in power. Uyi Agbomofuegbe has the rest of the story.
There have been widespread reports that biometric machines used to verify voters' identity were malfunctioning, which some have blamed on the government's decision to shut down the internet during the election. However, Uganda President Yoweri Museveni said he faced difficulties voting due to technical problems in Thursday's elections, as the country faced an internet shutdown and widespread delays. Byabakama announced that vote counting has concluded in many areas, urging all candidates, their agents and supporters to remain calm and tolerant as the declaration of final results begins.
The Commission notes the exercise has therefore been generally peaceful across the country. We once again salute the people of Uganda for having turned up in high numbers to elect their leaders and for conducting themselves in a peaceful manner and for bearing with us as the Commission. As we talk now, the counting of votes in many places has been concluded, and the declaration of results, or the tallying, the declaration of results, as the declaration of results gets underway.
The voting process, which took place amid an internet blackout and technical delays, has been closely watched both domestically and internationally. Museveni, Africa's longest-serving leader, is aiming for another term in office, continuing his 40-year tenure that began in 1986. Meanwhile, the Commission has released early provisional results from the presidential election, showing President Yoweri Museveni leading with 61.7% of the votes counted so far. Uyi Agbomofuegbe, reporting for Global TV News.
In the meantime, Uganda opposition leader Bobi Wine says he escaped a police raid on his home and is currently in hiding as the country awaits the outcome of a tense election conducted under an internet blackout. Confusion followed earlier report from his party claiming he was arrested and flown away in an army helicopter, coming a day after polls that were marred by violence, intimidation, and reports of multiple deaths. 81-year-old President Yoweri Museveni appears set to extend his decades-long rule, holding a commanding lead over Wine, the 43-year-old former musician turned politician, amid growing concern over the conduct of the election and the treatment of opposition figures. United States President Donald Trump has appointed former British Prime Minister Tony Blair to a board overseeing post-war reconstruction and governance in Gaza. The board, dominated by American officials, will focus on rebuilding investment and regional relations following years of conflict. The move has drawn attention due to Blair's controversial history in the Middle East and Trump's broader vision for Gaza's redevelopment. And now in sport, the Super Eagles of Nigeria will face seven-time champions Egypt in the third-place match of the 2025 African Cup of Nations today in Casablanca. Following their semi-final defeat to host Morocco, both sides, who share a combined 10 AFCON titles, fell short of the final after Egypt lost to Senegal, while Nigeria were edged out by Morocco on penalties in Rabat, setting up a high-profile contest for bronze. Nigeria, unbeaten in regulation time throughout the tournament and historically dominated in bronze medal matches, will be aiming to extend their record haul when kickoff gets underway at 5 p.m. The 2025 African Cup of Nations in Morocco has set a new tournament record after producing 120 goals ahead of Sunday's final, surpassing the previous benchmark of 119 goals set at the 2023 edition in Côte d'Ivoire. The gold surge has been driven by Africa's traditional powerhouses, including Morocco, Senegal, and Nigeria, alongside emerging stars who have matched established names in impact and consistency. With the third-place match and final still to be played, the goal tally could yet increase further, sealing AFCON 2025 as the highest scoring and one of the most entertaining tournaments in the competition's history. Nigerian athlete Brittany Ogumokun has set a new national record in the women's 500 meters after clocking 1 hour 10 minutes to win silver at the NYC Gotham Cup in New York. The performance eclipsed the long-standing national record of 1 hour 11:49 seconds set in 2016 and marked a significant improvement on Ogumokun's previous personal best as she opened her 2026 session in record-breaking fashion. The achievement further strengthened her legacy in Nigerian athletics and signals a strong form ahead of major international competitions later in the year. As Global TV News Express comes to an end, here is a recap of our top stories. Vice President Kashim Shettima has arrived in Conakry to represent President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at the inauguration of Guinea's president-elect Mamadi Doumbouya, following his victory in the December 2025 election. And in business, we told you that Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority says Nigeria's petrol importation fell sharply in December 2025, while supply from local refineries increased significantly. And on the foreign scene, Uganda opposition leader Bobby Wine says he escaped a police raid on his home and is currently in hiding as the Conakry awaits the outcome of a tense election. In sport, the Super Eagles of Nigeria will face a 7-time champions Egypt in the third place match of the 2025 African Cup of Nations today in Casablanca, following their semi-finals defeat to host Morocco. And that's it on News Express. A quick reminder that Global TV is on DSTV channel 365 and StarTimes channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms now showing on your screen using @Global TV NG. I am Ramsey Enoch Agbo. Thanks for watching.